Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody, depending where you are. For Wednesday, September the 19th, 2012, my name is Hubert O'Hearn, literary editor for the Herald de Paris, and this is A Book and a Martini. Those are books. This is a martini. That's why we call it A Book and a Martini. Cheers. We haven't done one of these in about, must be 6 months or so. Life's been a shade on the busy side and so forth. But this week I have 3 books I want to talk to you about. And by the way, sweatshirt, little tribute to the late Ted Knight, co-star of Too Close for Comfort. First book I choose for 2 reasons. It's an Irish history, and I'm happy to report that at the end of January 2013, I'm moving to Ireland. It's a lifelong dream, and I hope that you're anywhere near as happy for me as I am for that. It's a beautiful country, and it has a literary tradition that punches way the heck above its weight. So the first book, because I thought I'd start with a lighthearted, fun topic that's sure to bring a smile to your face. Let's talk about famine. Jeez, yeah, you can't beat human strife for a fun. The Graves Are Walking, written by John Kelly. I really enjoy well-written history. It may be, of all the genres of literature, my favorite. A great history needs to pull you back into the period. Obviously, has to have all the research and data intact. But more than that, through the writing talent, you care about the people who are being written out. And to me, John Kelly is the finest popular historian since the late Barbara Tuchman passed away, and she was kind of the one that got me into reading popular history with a fantastic book, which if you've never read it, called The March of Folly. I'd like to read you a little bit of it from chapter 10, chapter entitled Snow. From deep within the Eurasian steppe, a fierce autumn wind swept westward across the European archipelago. The Channel seas rose and the sky over Ireland darkened. On the morning of November the 29th, Elizabeth Smith looked out her bedroom window. Snow, lovely and silent, was fluttering softly down through the grey air. A week later, it was still snowing. In Donegal, the mountain roads became impassable. In Galway, waist-high drifts forced riders to dismount and walk their horses. During the final weeks of autumn, it snowed almost continuously. Snow fell down to the cold, still world, covering the decapitated hills, the half-dug ditches and upturned earth. The emigrant-crowded Liverpool packets and the tide lines in turnip fields, where shoeless, jacketless women and children searched for seaweed. It snowed on the 5,000 paupers shivering in the doorways of Cork City, on the half-starved country people in the streets of Thurles and Tipperary. Snow covered the schoolhouse and military barracks in Skibbereen, the Board of Works pay office in Ennisclare, the commissariat depots in Mayo and Sligo, and the coffin dead who had come to their final end in the shadow of the cold mountains. It was December now, and mass death was beginning. He's a wonderful writer. Perhaps you have an ancestor who came over, as my would have been great-great-great-grandfather did, in the potato famine between 1845 and 1855. Regardless, if you're interested in how politics can completely bugger up a crisis, this is a great book to read. Now, we've done big time heavy. Let's lighten it up a little bit. Martin Amis, newest book, Lionel Asbo. Lionel, the title character, changes his last name to Asbo because that's the acronym for and I just had a brain cramp. Antisocial behavior disorder. Yes, that's it. Um, I know several people whose opinions I really respect who just can't stand Martin Amis. On the other hand, I know several people whose opinions I respect who just love Martin Amis. I'm in the latter category. This is the ninth one of Amis's novels that I've read, and I've enjoyed every one of them, at the very least admired every one of them. To me, this one's his funniest. It's the story of an absolutely low-rent thief who wins a fortune in the lottery, and within that context, the subtitle is State of England, and Amis aims a Swiftian satiric sword at modern England, the tabloid press, the cult of celebrity, how celebrity can manipulate media, and so forth. To me, this is a brilliant, funny read. I'm a lousy audience in that it's very hard for me to laugh out loud at books. That one I laughed out loud at. Feeling a little parched. Momente. Cheers again. Oh, how sweet it is. Third book is by a wonderful author who has a part-time job as an actress. Possibly you may have heard of her. Molly Ringwald. When It Happens to You. I had a feeling, this is her first novel. I had a feeling it would be rather good, because when I would see Molly Ringwald on the screen, I could detect an intelligence there, an awareness of the world, and she certainly doesn't disappoint. Some ways, maybe it helps that her husband is a book editor. I don't know. I'm a book editor. I could probably marry all kinds of people who couldn't write worth a damn. You never know. But the novel, When It Happens to You, is composed of interlocking short stories, which is very much a cinematic technique. And what I like about it is that as you have the different focal characters, the people around the troubled marriage of Greta and Philip, is that from their various perspectives, you really get a sense of the whole of each of Greta and Philip. Also, Molly Ringwald is one hell of a terrific writer. She doesn't overwrite. She has the knack that a great novelist has of finding the telling detail that can be stated in one phrase or one sentence, whereas lesser people will go on for 20 pages on the same thing. I'm going to read you an entire chapter. It's a different chapter from the rest of it in that this is a letter from Greta to Teresa, the woman that Philip has an affair with. But it's really good. And it's also the title chapter of the book, When It Happens to You. When it happens to you, you will be surprised. That thing they say about how you knew all the time, but just weren't facing it. That might be the case, but nevertheless, there you will be. You will feel like you have been kicked in the stomach, that your insides have just separated to make room for something big. You may not cry at first. You may wonder why you don't cry. And you may even feel like there is something seriously wrong with you. You might look at yourself as though you were a character in a book or a movie, and you might think to yourself, why isn't that woman crying? What's wrong with her? It isn't the first time you'll think that there is something wrong with you. Oh, you will search for the reason why he would choose her over you, why he would choose a girl over a woman. And then you will become certain that it's your age. You are spoiled, like the items in the pantry that were supposed to last indefinitely, but somehow the pantry moths found their way inside. You will feel that you were thrown out just like that box of cereal was thrown out to keep everything else around it from becoming ruined. If you are lucky enough to have children by then, you will struggle to explain to them why their parents no longer love each other the same way. Your children will assume that it is their fault, and though you will do your very best to explain to them why it isn't, a part of you will secretly fear it is. You will have already looked at your children at times with a critical eye and seen all of the youth and freshness that you and he once had, all that vitality and hope, and you will know that they took it away. You can't ever say that they stole it, because you gave it willingly. Still, once it was gone, you missed it and envied it while hoping that you would both be strong enough to bear its absence. He will not. The girl who will give him back this illusion of vitality for a short time will not think of your children or your marriage. She will not consider the lovely years that you spent together with him. Why would she? She wasn't there when you both laughed your way through your wedding with a pure and nervous joy. She wasn't there when you both waited for your first child to be born, when he held your hand and told you how the contractions were coming with the seriousness of a boy as he watched the peaks on the machine that was connected to your belly. You listening to the wondrous familiarity of his voice as though all of your lives depended on it, though truthfully your body knew already in the moments before. She wasn't there when you held him upright at his father's funeral and then at his mother's only weeks after, or for the vacations, alone at first, and then with the children, or the holidays, alternating between your family and his while they were still alive, then later with just your own. The notes you composed together to the Tooth Fairy. The nights you stayed up talking, even though you had to work the next day, and held hands as you fell asleep, hoping to have the same dream. When it happens to you, you will ask him why he would choose to forsake this good, sweet life that you carefully built together for a girl who couldn't begin to understand him. And then you will realize that that is at least partially the part. He doesn't want to be understood. He wants to be misunderstood. Because in that misunderstanding lies the possibility of reinvention. When it happens to you, you will wonder if he loved her. He will assure you that he did not, that it wasn't about love. He will tell you that it was about something else entirely. But even in your quietest moments together, you will be unable to specify what that something else was. He will honestly seem as confused as you, even to the point of bewilderment. There's actually more to the chapter than that. Molly Ringwald, it can happen to you. I make the big calls. It's who I am, it's what I do. Best first novel I've ever read. Over, done. We'll certainly appreciate your comments. If you'd like to see full reviews of these or any other books, you can either go to heralddeparis.com or my archive at buythebookreviews.blogspot.com. And as our dear late friend Tommy Snyder used to say, and my toast to Tommy, from all of us who work the late shift, good night, everybody.